My name is Logan. I'm going to go over the diagnostic criteria for attention deficit hyperactive disorder. I will probably be referring to that as ADHD throughout my presentation just because it's easier. Alright, so someone with ADHD would show a persistent pattern of inattention or hyperactivity impulsivity that interferes with functioning or development. So obviously, like I just said, there's two different types and ways that this can present. It can be with the inattentive, or it can be hyperactive, impulsive, or it could also be both. So that's also something else to keep in mind. So I'll start with the inattention type. In order for anyone to qualify for the inattention type, you need 6 or more symptoms of inattention for children up to the age of 16, 5 or more if they're adolescents, so 17 or older, and also that includes adults. And all of these symptoms need to have been present for at least 6 months. So the first would be somebody who fails to give close attention to details or makes like careless mistakes in schoolwork, at work, other activities, stuff like that. They have trouble paying attention to like certain tasks or play activities, especially if they're like non-desirable tasks, like boring things to them. They don't seem to listen when they're spoken directly to. They don't really follow through on instructions and fail to finish schoolwork, chores, or duties. That kind of just looks like losing focus or getting sidetracked. They have trouble organizing themselves in tasks, so you'll see like a messy area or anything like that. Or like myself, who loses their keys every other day. They may avoid, dislike, or be like reluctant to do tasks that will require a lot of like mental effort or stimulation over a long period of time, and a lot of times, especially for kids, this looks like schoolwork or just like any non-preferred activity, even like for adults in their day-to-day at their career. They lose things a lot, like I said earlier. They might lose their pencil, their phone, like me, things like that. We all know the kid in high school who were younger who always forgot a pencil in class. They might be easily distracted, or they might be forgetful for daily activities. So that could be like forgetting to brush their teeth. For a lot of people with ADHD, it's kind of hard for them to remember such a simple task, which sounds weird, but it is a thing. So yeah, the symptoms I just mentioned, like I said, 6 or more if they have to, someone has to demonstrate 6 or more if they're under age 16, or 5 or more if they're 17 or older into adult life. Now I'll move on to hyperactivity and impulsivity. For this, again, it's 6 or more for hyperactivity and impulsivity for children ages 16 and below, and 5 or more for somebody 17 or older into adulthood. And again, they need to have been present for at least 6 months and need to have been disruptive for that person's lifestyle or development. So hyperactivity and impulsivity, it might often be fidgeting or tapping hands, feet, squirms in their seat. Could be like people bobbing their feet, like when they're, I don't know, sometimes it seems like a nervous habit, but that could also be a symptom of ADHD. They leave their seat in situations where they're supposed to be seated, and that's expected. That's why we see this a lot in kids in school who are up and roaming. They often run about or climb in situations which isn't appropriate. And it's good to note that if they're adolescents or adult, this may be limited to like feeling restless, since adults and like more mature people don't necessarily climb on things when they're not supposed to. They might struggle to be quiet when they're doing leisurely activities or playing. They might act like if they're driven by a motor or always on the go. They could talk excessively. They might blurt out an answer before it's completed. They could have trouble waiting for their turn or interrupt or intrude others. You'll see this a lot, especially when you're asking somebody with ADHD a question. Before you can even finish the question, they kind of like interrupt you, or even when you're trying to say your own thing. That is probably what you'll see. So in addition to having those, like I said, 6 or more, 5 or more of each conditions to be met, several of the inattentive and hyperactive symptoms have to have been present before the age of 12. Obviously, if they're under 12, that would be then, but this is more for diagnosing adolescents and adults. And the symptoms need to be present in 2 or more settings, so it can't just be like the symptoms are present while they're at work or they're at school. It needs to be both, with friends, relatives, anything like that. There needs to be clear evidence that the symptoms interfere or reduce the quality of the individual's life, so struggling to keep up their grades, struggling to keep friends, stuff like that. And the symptoms don't happen only during the course of schizophrenia or another psychotic disorder. So basically, that's just ruling out any other type of disorder that it could be. There's 3 different presentations of ADHD. There's the combined presentation, so that's if they have enough criteria for both inattention and hyperactivity impulsivity for the past 6 months, or you can be predominantly inattentive or predominantly hyperactive. But I know we all probably have heard about ADHD, and it's very big lately, but I think it's really important to know about, and thank you.